Chapter 19. Carter. Thanks for meeting me, Jefferson. Carter ran a hand through his hair as Jefferson pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. He wasn't sure he wanted to spill his dirty secrets to Jefferson, but he wasn't sure who else to talk to. He glanced around the mostly empty coffee shop and decided no one inside would pay them too much attention. Of course. What's going on? It's about April. Jefferson leaned back and let his eyes roam over Carter's face. I thought it was over with April. Didn't you bring some blonde to the last practice? Heat crawled up Carter's neck. Even though it was a move he'd done so often in the past, it sounded so crass coming from Jefferson's mouth. I did, which was awful. I shouldn't have done that, but I let myself be persuaded that I shouldn't see her any longer since I didn't want a relationship. Jefferson had the decency not to agree. He simply nodded at Carter and waited for him to continue. Anyway, April and she's pregnant. This did get a reaction from Jefferson as his eyebrow lifted toward his hairline. Have you guys decided what you're going to do? Carter's eyes dropped to the table in embarrassment. I told her to terminate it and even gave her the money. Carter. No, let me finish, Carter said, holding up a hand. I gave her the money, but then I couldn't go through with it. I kept seeing these signs about babies and families, and then the song came on the radio. He stopped and took a deep breath. He knew his words were jumbled and making little sense to Jefferson. I remembered what you said about God trying to get my attention, and I couldn't go through with it. Do you think it was God? Jefferson took a deep breath and paused as if measuring his words. I can't say for sure, Carter, but I know that God talks to us in many ways, including signs and songs. I also know that the act of abortion would grieve him greatly. So, she didn't go through with it? Carter huffed and shook his head. She was going to, but somehow her car had 2 flat tires. A knowing smile tugged the corners of Jefferson's lips. God works in mysterious ways. So, what is the plan now? That's why I called you. I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do for April. He sighed and let his shoulders roll forward. I'm unsure. Jefferson smiled and opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, Carter's phone rang. Sorry, Carter said, pulling it out of his pocket to silence it. I meant to turn it off. As his finger moved to the end call button, though, he paused. Malone's name flashed on the caller ID, and something inside him said he should answer. I'm sorry. I need to take this real quick. Jefferson nodded and motioned for him to go ahead. He punched the talk button, curious as to why Malone would be calling him. Hello? Carter? Oh, thank goodness you guys are okay. Relief colored Malone's usual tone. Okay? What are you talking about, Malone? I thought you guys were on the United 51 flight. Carter hadn't paid super close attention to the flight numbers, but he thought that sounded accurate. Yeah, I think that's the flight. I actually didn't go, though I have to pick up the guys when they land. What's going on? Carter, turn on the news. The plane crashed. What? Carter's heart dropped to his stomach. Jefferson's brow lifted at Carter's outburst. I'm not near a TV. Tell me what happened, Malone. They don't know. The plane looked like it was fine, and then it just crashed. They're searching for survivors, but it doesn't look good. I've tried calling Jay, but he's not answering. I don't think... Malone's voice cracked. I don't think they made it. Carter fought for words, but the only thought resonating in his head was that if he had stayed, it would have been him as well. He would have been on that plane, and the only reason he wasn't was because he'd come back for April. What did that mean? I'll keep trying too, Malone. Maybe they took a different flight and just don't have their phones on. Though even as he said it, Carter knew that scenario was unlikely. Since he was supposed to pick them up at the airport, Jay would have called if their return time was changing. Maybe. I'll let you know if I find anything out. But Carter? Yeah? I'm glad you're okay, man. And I know you're not the praying type, but maybe send one up anyway? Yeah, I will. You too. Carter ended the call and stared at the phone. You okay? Jefferson asked. I don't think so. That was my friend Malone. He said the plane my friends were on, that I was supposed to be on, just crashed. He can't get them on the phone. Emotion flooded Jefferson's face. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'll pray for them. Carter shook his head slowly. The thing is, I wasn't on that plane because I came back to stop April. What does that mean, Jefferson? Jefferson fixed Carter with a deep, intense stare. His words were as solemn as his face. I think it means that God's not done with you yet. But why me? I'm not like you. I haven't made the best decisions lately. Well, God is good at helping all of us, even when we don't make the best decisions. In fact, most of the people he used in the Bible weren't always model citizens either. See, God often uses the least expected people, because that way he gets the glory. So you're saying God has a purpose for me? God has a purpose for all of us, Carter. He has a purpose for you, and April, and that baby. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but Lucia and I can help, if you let us. Carter took a deep breath and nodded. He couldn't remember the last time he'd asked for help, but he knew enough to know he needed it now.